welcome back to Learning with Liz. So on today's video, as September is approaching, I thought it would be appropriate to release a tips on how to survive your SCITT training year. For those who don't know me, I'm Liz from Learning with Liz, and what I have been doing for the past year or so is providing tips and advice for ITTs, so initial teacher trainees, students who have just graduated and are wanting to go into the teaching world. If you are interested in what I have to say, the advice that I'm providing, don't forget to give the videos a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more content. As I was saying, today's video is basically me giving you 6 tips that I wish I knew at the start of my SCITT teacher training year. The first tip that I have to provide teacher trainees is take advantage of the observations that you are given at the start of the year. So for the first sort of 6 weeks, you are not expected to teach at all with the SCITT teacher training course. What you do is sit in different classrooms of other teachers that have had years of teaching behind them and just see how they teach within the classroom environment. I would say I wish that I took more advantage of this this start of the year basically. It is so important that you see different subjects, that you see different styles of teaching, different behaviour management techniques, and then also if you, this sounds really weird, I was going to say stalk a student. Don't stalk a student. If you like shadow a student, that is the proper term, then you can also see what they're like in different lessons, and you can do that throughout your teaching sort of life anyway. So for example, if you have a student that is just really tricky in your classroom, why not pop into a science class with them or pop into another lesson, and they could be completely different, and it's all dependent on the teacher, maybe the lesson. Get advice from other teachers. So the observations are just so important. So go observe different lessons, different students and different teachers. My second piece of advice is complete your evidence bundles in bits and pieces. Do not leave it until the last minute, because the stress is real. If you just finished uni and you have completed a dissertation and you left it till the last minute, wow, like, you know the stress. It's a similar thing with your evidence bundle. So what an evidence bundle is a series of 6 to 8 lessons that you are assessed on during that placement. So within the SCITT, you have 3 different placements. You go to your first school from September to Christmas. From January to March time, you go to your second placement, and then around April time to June, you go back to your first school. It's classed as your 3rd placement. And in each placement, you are asked to provide an evidence bundle, which is a series of 6 to 8 lessons where you can see student progress. You can see your lesson plans, you can see student work, you can see your teaching standards along with the whole thing. You've also got to evidence how you have sort of contributed to the school's ethos as well. And you can imagine if you leave that till the end of the placement, you are stressed. So I would suggest that you, as soon as you have done lesson 1, you print out the lesson plans for that. You attach student work to it with your comments. You highlight teaching standards for each lesson, and then it just makes life so much simpler for you when you just have to piece it together in a bundle. So you can see one of my other videos is putting together your evidence bundle on my channel. So if you are wanting to put together an evidence bundle and you don't know where to start, go check that video out. That should provide you with some guidance. My third piece of advice is, when it comes to your teaching hours in each placement, try, if you can, try to teach the top section of hours. So you might be like, what are you talking about? In each placement you have a different set of hours that you teach. The first placement you're new to teaching, so they only expect you to teach 6 to 8 hours. So what I mean by trying to teach to the maximum hours of that placement is try and teach those 8 hours a week, because in your second placement you are then said try and teach 8 to 12 hours. And I would suggest, if you can and it's not too stressful or overwhelming, try and teach to that maximum 12 hours. And then in your third placement you are expected to teach around 16 hours. So the reason I'm saying try and teach the maximum hours a week within each placement is just so that you're not overwhelmed when the next placement comes along, because it can feel like such a big jump even if you're just teaching 2 or 3 more hours. So what was hilarious about my teacher training year is that obviously coronavirus hit just before my third placement was about to start. So that meant that by the end of my second placement I had taught like a maximum of 12 hours a week, and now I have a job for September. I'm going to be going from 12 hours to 20 hours. Which doesn't seem like a lot of hours. Like, you think like an 8-hour shift at a retail place, you're like, oh, that feels pretty long, but it's done in one day. And it's the fact that 8 hours is just over a week. But it means that I'm taking on a lot more classes, and that's what you'll find in each placement, that you're going to be teaching more kids, more students, which means you need more student data, you need to create seating plans, you need to do more lessons, you need to mark more books. That is why my advice is try and do your maximum hours of each placement to make life easier for you in the long run. My fourth piece of advice is that relationship building with students and other staff members, your teacher trainees, is so important. I found throughout this year that the reason that my mentor said that I've nailed my behaviour management, which was something that I was really stressing about at the start of the year, was because I have realised that relationship building is the key to an easy classroom environment. You need to be interested in the kids. If you have gone into teaching because you like to tell people off, I don't think that's the best reason to go into the job. The reason that I wanted to go into teaching is because I think that teenage years especially are so difficult. So if I can help out and make them feel supported in any way possible, that is what I want to do. Therefore, the relationship building for me is so key. And it means that the students feel comfortable around me. They know that there's clear boundaries, because I'm nice, I'm fun, Miss Green, but if you've annoyed me, I don't shout, because that's not my behaviour management style. It's my tone of voice, it's my silence that makes them be like, oh crap. It's great because you have your students on your side, so if someone's being really disruptive, being really noisy, if you've got a good relationship with the kids, then the other students are like, shut up, you're annoying her, which is just like brilliant, because they do the work for you. So relationship building with the kids is key. Fifth piece of advice, my fifth piece of advice is socialise with your department. Immerse yourself in the placement that you're in. So that means, I know it may feel like you do not have enough hours in the day to spread yourself so thin, but my tip of socialising with your department, immersing yourself in the school's ethos, just makes your job so much more enjoyable. Obviously that depends on the department that you're in, the school that you're in, and if you get on with the department yourself, but try and help out in after school clubs, lunchtime clubs, go for food with your department if they've got a staff social on. Those little bits really make you feel involved in the placement. And also, if there's a job available towards the end of the year and you have got on really well with the department, and that the head teacher or the other teachers think you'll be a really good contribution to the school, it just means that you've got that extra bit of chance to get the job over someone else who hasn't quite done that. And my final piece of advice and tips is just don't stress if you don't get a job straight away. It tends to be a part of your SCITT year that around January time, that is when the jobs start popping up. And that is when other trainees might start applying for jobs. But just because other trainees are applying for the jobs straight away, don't rush into it. If you know that there's a school that is going to be offering an interview and you really like that school, wait it out. You're asked to usually give a term's worth of notice if you are leaving your job. So that means that all the way up until Easter there will be jobs that are popping up for you. So don't stress about that as well. Make sure that you apply for a school that you really want to work in as well. Think about location, if the department fits you as well, because remember, when you are applying for a job and you're going through the interview process, you're also interviewing the school as well to see if it's appropriate for you. They are my 6 tips of how to survive your SCITT training year. If you have found it useful, give it a thumbs up. If you like anything, have any questions, give me a comment down below, and subscribe to my channel to listen to more teacher training advice content. Have a lovely day.